Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry I just can't help myself playing golf. I'm literally here on this course 3 times a day, twice a day, because not only is just relaxing spiritually, but golf is a game that I figured out. It's not a sport of competing with other people, it's about competing with yourself. You're out there competing with yourself and your brain, your concentration, your muscle memory. And I never thought I would be playing golf and loving golf. I only took the sport due to Michael Jordan. Like, I went and saw him and I hung out with him 5 hours in Vegas, and just watching him play, I'm like, oh my God, this game is actually fun. Let me go try it when I go home. So I bought the cheapest clubs, and once I went, boom, I'm like, I need better clubs, I need everything better. And you know what I learned from golf? Not even playing the game. The most important thing I learned from golf is my fashion sense. Because when you come here to the clubhouse, you gotta dress up nice. You gotta be matching, you gotta dress up, and you know, I look like the all-American flag, but I love it. I've never dressed up, at least not on my daily life or playing a sport. So this is a good change for me. But anyway, today I wanted to tackle something called Saptamsa chart, as in the D7 chart in Vedic astrology. What is this chart? What is it about? And how do you use it in your life? So let's discuss that today. And by the way, if you do not know what your D7 chart is about, what is your D7 chart is, what your planetary alignments are in the Saptamsa chart, for that, check out the links here and check out my full astrological report, including my books, Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects at the Speed of Light, including all my new options. Otherwise, let's get started. So, talking about Saptamsa chart, what is Saptamsa chart? Saptamsa chart is known as the D7 chart, and this is the chart that kind of surgically opens up your 5th house in your horoscope and looks inside. But it looks inside not for children, not for education, it looks inside for children. I was gonna say not for children, I'm like, dude, you need some help. You need to go back do some ABC on astrology. But no, Saptamsa chart is to look for children, timing of children, how many children, sexes of children. But there's another more important, deeper value of D7 chart. D7 chart is about children, okay? Children is something you and your husband or wife create, or a man and woman create. In this day and age, I mean, half the people have kids before marriage. But what it means is that if you create something, okay, if you're creating something with your spouse or the person you love, will that become fruitful or not? Whatever you do in life together, will that become fruitful or not? So it's not just children. What else can we say could be children? Your business, your happiness, your home. Whatever you create together can be seen in Saptamsa chart. So this is why Saptamsa chart is not just a chart for children, but chart to see what do you create. I remember if you watch my interview with Ernest Valim, sorry if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong, he explained it the best, that Saptamsa chart is something that you use to see what other things the couple is creating. So today what I'm going to do is talk about how you determine children through this chart and the other concept that I'm talking about. So the number one thing you want to look for when you determine children is look at the 5th house of your main birth chart, because that's a house of children, right? At the same time, you're going to look for the bhavad bhavam of the 5th house, which is what? The 9th house, 5th from the 5th. So 5th and 9th house become 2 important houses regarding children. Then the 2 most important planets you want to look for in order to see the time if someone will have children or the timing of children is Jupiter and Moon. Jupiter is the karaka of the 5th house, meaning significator of the 5th house. It is the significator of children. And Moon is motherhood, where you become a mother, where you become a parent, which is Moon. And anytime you're looking for children timing, you not only want to see what Mahadasha you're running, which should be of 5th house, 9th house, moon and Jupiter. And that will show, okay, in this Mahadasha I will have children. But you also want to see if your moon and Jupiter especially aspect the 5th house from the ascendant and the moon. Once they aspect the 5th house from the ascendant or the moon, it shows, okay, children will come in, you will have children, and you can then assess the timing of children through these two planets. Now, it's not just the Mahadasha you're looking for to see what your, if you're going to have children or not. You want to see the Antradasha. What is the Antradasha? See if the Antradasha is of the 5th house, 5th lord, planet in the 5th house, Jupiter or moon. And these Antradasha will tell you the timing of children. And at the same time, you also want to see the transit of Jupiter and Saturn. Remember when I made a video on the importance of Jupiter and Saturn transit, how they denote to all the major events of our life, from children to promotions to marriage to anything, including health problems or recovering from health problems. Jupiter and Saturn are important, vital. So again, for children, you're going to see the transit of Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter and Saturn by transit should both aspect the 5th house, whether from the ascendant or the moon. And remember, they can also aspect through Gemini aspects. If you do not know what Gemini aspects are, you might want to go and watch my video on Gemini aspects. So through their yearly transit, if they aspect the 5th house, both of them at the same time, shows children will be coming in this time period. And this is especially important for a woman's chart. You want to see this in a woman's chart, especially because mother is the one who's carrying the baby. Although you can also assess in the father's chart, I found it to be useful in the mother's chart. Now, let's say if Jupiter and moon are not looking at your 5th house, Jupiter is not aspecting the 5th house, does this mean you're not going to have children? That's wrong, because now we want to use the Saptamsa chart. In Saptamsa chart, which is a D7 chart, you again want to see, first of all, the ascendant of the Saptamsa chart, the 5th house, the 5th ruler, planet in the 5th house, and Jupiter. Anytime regular benefic planets like Mercury, Venus, Moon, Jupiter are in the 5th house or aspect the 5th house, birth of a child is promised. With Jupiter, it's heavily promised birth of a child. But in Saptamsa chart, if Jupiter aspects the 5th house or sits in the 5th house, while it's not in your main birth chart, that shows that, okay, children will be happening, because now we're looking at a deeper analysis of children. At the same time, you're going to use the transit of Jupiter and Saturn in the Saptamsa chart from the ascendant or the moon itself, like the moon chart in Vedic astrology. And especially if, let's say, you're not running through the Mahadasha of the 5th house, 5th lord, or planet in the 5th house in your main birth chart, yet you are running the Mahadasha of a planet that is sitting in the ascendant of your Saptamsa chart, or that controls the ascendant of your Saptamsa, that again promises children. Why? Because Saptamsa is a chart for children. It obviously is talking about children. So the ascendant ruler of that chart or planet sitting in that house, of the 1st house of the Saptamsa chart, obviously is giving a major indication that something related to children or pregnancy will be happening in this time period. But at the same time, when you can determine these things, whether through Charadasha, because you can also use Charadasha for these concepts. Charadasha, which is a Gemini-based Charadasha, you want to look for Putrakarka, PK, planet with the 5th highest degree, becomes the Karka or significator of children, which we'll discuss later, because I don't want to mesh these two up right now and confuse you all for the new people. But this is how you determine the timing of children and birth of children. Now, the sex of children really depends upon who the 5th house controller is, whether it's a natural male or female planet, or if the planet is sitting there is neutral. If it's neutral, like Mercury and Saturn, you want to see what other influence Mercury and Saturn are having. Are they having more male aspects, male conjunction, female conjunction? That will determine the sex of a child. Now, one of the most difficult part is to determine the number of children you'll have. That's something, I'll be honest with you, I do not know. I have tried to assess this, I've tried to determine this, not there. And I've never really had an interest to learn this part, so you know, you can't just learn everything in Jyotish 100%. If anybody says that, they're wrong. You really mastery on one aspect and then you learn other aspects. But as far as the sex of the children is concerned, it all comes down to the degrees and the padhas, and you just really need to study some of the deepest aspects of astrology. Okay? Especially, I think it's in Bhrigu Samhita about this stuff. But this is how you see the children. Now, let's talk about the other stuff. Like, what other stuff can you create with your spouse or your mother of your child or father of your child? So now we're gonna talk about what other stuff that you can see. So first, you want to assess how strong is the ascendant of the Saptamsa chart. This first house of the Saptamsa chart, the fifth house of the Saptamsa chart, and especially the seventh house of Saptamsa chart, you want to see if they're strong. If they're strong, it shows that there's a bondage between the two people who have created the child. And if it's a good placement, okay, you can have children in bad placement. Remember, in Saptamsa chart, you can have a child with a debilitated Venus in the fifth house. You can have a child with debilitated sun or moon in the fifth house. But what this would mean, and especially if they're around that specific degree, what this means is that you creating a child might actually be more stressful for you, might actually bring more responsibility to you. Now, when there are happy planets and happy signs, and they're getting the aspects of benefic planet, like most benefic planet, which is Jupiter, you know, and not too many people even realize, why is Jupiter the most benefic? Jupiter is not benefic just because a book says it is. According to Ashtavarga, Jupiter receives the maximum 56 points out of the 96 in the Ashtavarga calculation, where the Saturn receives the minimum, or Mars receives the minimum. They become the most malefic because they're having more negative points than Jupiter. So this is why Jupiter is more benefic. This is why you want the aspect of Jupiter on the fifth house or the fifth lord. But when this happens, this shows that not only will you be creating children in your life, if Saptamsa chart is showing that you may actually create a business together. Let's say a lot of planets are sitting in the seventh house, beautifully placed, aspect of Jupiter. After marriage, what it shows, you're going to be creating business together. If they're in the 11th house, if majority of the planets are in the 11th house with the aspect of Jupiter, Jupiter sits in the 11th house, shows after marriage, you guys, whoever chart has this, the male or the female, one will benefit a lot. Perhaps a woman has this in placement and a guy doesn't. What happens after marriage is that guy feels a lot of responsibility. He's like, oh my God, I got to take care of the children, I got to take care of the wife. But now after marriage, what happens is he's making money. He's under a lot of stress. He doesn't feel he's enjoying the life he's making. Yet the wife who had this placement sits home, takes care of the child, has a Range Rover, a Ferrari, goes out and shops and chills all day. But guess what? It's not the wife's fault that she's doing this. She has a good karma for her to deserve this. Because of this alignment of the 11th house, she is getting gains now. By marrying this person, and what she has created after marriage is child name gains of money. If it's in the fourth house, you can see that after marriage, this person may attain a lot of wealth through property, and they may have a lot of houses, a lot of conveniences. So you're creating that children. If both of them have these kind of similarities, both will prosper in life. So this is how you want to see. It's not just about children. It's about what you're creating after marriage as your child, as your baby. You both want to see if you both are showing that, okay, we're both are going to be working towards a house. If one is working towards the 11th house, one is working towards the fourth house, it shows after marriage, you will get a lot of gains through the other partner, and the other partner through you will gain a property. Whether you gain a property through your grandmother or whatever happens, it shows what each of them are gaining in life. Now, happiness of marriage and what exactly the marriage partner is like, the timing of marriage, that's all in the mantra chart. We want to see what things can you create with the marriage. So that's what Saptamsa chart is, okay? And I hope this has helped and given some insights into your D7 chart. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And if you want to know where your D7 chart is and what it's doing for you, for that, check out the links here and check out my full astrological report, including my options and books. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.